Wonderful to see you all the way from Texas. Check out our poll on YouTube.
Nor adulterers, nor effeminate, nor homosexuals shall inherit the kingdom of God.
God's given us his word, and to go against that's wrong.
1946 is the first time in any language, in any translation, the word homosexual ends up in the Bible, right?
I found that incredibly hard to believe.
Who made this decision? Why did they make this decision? How did they make this decision?
Here is the famous 1946 RSV New Testament.
I found that they had left their archives at Yale University.
I think we went through 60,000 documents.
So I'm reading this for the first time.
Oh, this is exactly what we are looking for.
This is it.
I was wrong, or I think I'm wrong, about what the Bible says.
What is in the Bible is a behavior. It's a behavior that heterosexual people can do. Religion and politics get together.
There is a religious war going on in this country. It is a cultural war, but this war is for the soul of America.
Hey, sweetie. What you're doing is contrary to the Word of God.
The authority of the Bible is at stake.
How do we undo a lie that is so ingrained in our culture?
Yes.
Well, good evening, saints, and welcome to TNL Live, an LGBT podcast where lives are being transformed one broadcast at a time. And tonight we are so excited and we are honored to have Sharon Roggio, the director of 1946, the Mistranslation That Shifted Culture. And that docu-film, if you have not seen it, all the links are in the description, and also we have attached them in the comments. So there is no excuse. Go and support her work and you will not be sorry. It is a life-transforming film. And you can see the literal blood, sweat, and tears and the spirit behind it. So we want to encourage you to please go and put yourself into that link and buy the movie. So Sharon's going to be joining us live from London. Everybody say London.
London.
My sound effect didn't work. I got to do it again. London.
I can't hear it.
It didn't come on. Hold on. I'm going to try something. London.
No.
Oh, it didn't work. Okay,
I'll do it.
Oh, wait.
Yay!
There we go. All right. It didn't work that time. It shows you. Well, I just want to check if all of you are here. So now that we see most of you are online, we are going to talk about it and we're going to introduce you in just a moment. But before we do, let's get into it. We're trying. We're not that good at producing. You're going to have to watch 1946 to see real production. But we welcome you all if you've just joined us to TNL Live. And we have with us tonight a really, really wonderful woman. She is the director of the film, the docu-film, award-winning film. And it is none other than 1946, the Mistranslation that we have read so much about, the Mistranslation That Shifted Culture. And just to share a little bit more about Sharon, otherwise known as Rocky, she has spent about 15 to 20 years in the film and television industry, working across many major studio productions. She is a film director and producer and worked on some works like House of Cards, Parks and Recreation, Whip It, Red Dawn, and other productions. And she's especially well known for, of course, the film that we are talking about tonight. The reason that she is on here, as well as being able to share some of her story, 1946, which she directed. And she is going to share a little bit more right now. She holds a Bachelor of Communications degree, and she's also the daughter of a non-denominational evangelical pastor, and she grew up inside a gay church culture that was non-affirming, and she experienced this and expresses this as personally painful. And so we want to point you again, if you've just joined us, to go into the web and go to 1946themovie.com, and you can actually watch it there. You can buy it there. If you live in South Africa, there might be some other places, but if not, please go there and buy it. So without further ado, I don't know if I'm going to find my little cue again. Let me see. There we go. Where's number 3? Yay! We want to introduce you to Sharon Roggio. Welcome to our show. It is a blessing and an honor to have you here tonight.
Thank you. I want to first start by saying, please don't underestimate your skills, because I'm completely impressed. Live production is not easy. What y'all are doing is great, right? So please give yourselves a hand, and everybody who tunes in, you guys are doing great. So I want to learn from you. So yeah.
Very kind, very kind and gracious. That's my wife.
Wow, that sounds very, very humble. Can everybody, you can still hear me. Sharon, I just want to check because something went weird. You can hear me?
I got you.
You got me.
Great.
Oh, great. And sounds all good, right?
Everything is good.
Praise God. Praise God.
We even have the matching red going on. You know, we've got the logos, we got the red. And none of this was planned. So, I think we're in sync.
Absolutely amazing. And we're gonna just start by, we want you just to feel free to share at will. Sometimes that's really the best policy. So I don't want to say too much about the film, and I know far less than, of course, you do, the director. So maybe just as a first question, just for openers, and let's just go with that, is how did the docu-film 1946 come about? What brought this film into being?
Sure. So it's a personal necessity for me. If you've seen the film, and if not, now Deb has mentioned I am a PK, which it means pastor's kid. So I grew up in the church, and I always knew I was different, that there was something different about me, but I didn't really have the language for it in the gay thing, but growing up in the church in the 90s, there was a lot of rhetoric about those people are the bad people. Even though my dad didn't really preach on the pulpit about homosexuality, it was definitely just known in the culture, those are the people you don't want to be. And so, I'm sure we've all experienced something like that, whether you're a gay person or not, there's a lot of othering that goes on and a lot of marginalization. So let's not forget the intersectionality around this issue, where the Bible has been weaponized against many different groups. But with my personal impact, as we saw in the film, I don't want to give away too many spoilers, but my dad read my diary, found out I was a lesbian. Spoiler alert, I'm a lesbian. And,
wait, I've got to give that applause.
Yes, now it's an applause. But, at the time, it was quite stressful, because my parents really believed what 1 Corinthians 1:9-10 said in their Bible, which was homosexuals will not inherit the kingdom of God. And so it put a lot of strain on our relationship. I ended up moving out and was estranged from my family for many, many years. And as anyone who's been outside of their family core, it's a very lonely place to be. And so just our journey was, agreeing to disagree and coming back and then not agreeing. And then I don't want to give another spoiler alert away in the movie, because there's something that happens in around 2006 that's also in the film, a confrontation with me and my dad. And so we've been kind of at this what you call sin, I don't call sin, to my dad, and my dad saying, for many years. Fast forward, I was living in Los Angeles, and I'm a film producer, right? And I met a woman who told me she was Christian and she wanted to go to church. And I was like, well, I guess we're going back to church, So I went back to church as an adult and started to recognize that what is seeping out into our culture, I was able to start putting language to what I was seeing was coming from our church building. And again, what you call sin, I don't call sin. So I started challenging as an adult, as a person in a position of privilege, to be able to stand up to the leaders of the church, to the pastor of the church, and to just really start asking questions. Then I needed to get informed. So I reread the Bible as an adult, and really then started to immerse myself in those church groups so that I could actually be a person that is there, that is in the conversations and part of this journey. Again, challenging what you call sin, I don't call sin. I was going to a church that was very all are welcome, but then you see the underskirt where it's the bait and switch, they call it. And so you're welcome, but you're not equal. And that made me, I went through my angry period. So I wasn't angry anymore. I was determined, and I was on a mission, at that point, to really just delve deeper. And that led me to learn about Kathy Boldock just from conversations in this church. And she had obviously already been doing the work well before me. And what I discovered is there's so many other people who have been doing this work well before me. As a filmmaker, then learning about the words arsenokoitai and malakoi, being in the room with Kathy and Ed, the first day we filmed was the day that my dad was like asking her a question, and that very tense moment about 20 minutes in the film, that was the first day of filming, and so
it was tough. That was tough for her. I mean, it was hectic.
Yeah, totally. And so then being in that room and, putting all these pieces together, I'd already said I wanted to make a film to be able to have a conversation with my family that's non-affirming. And the only way to do that is through the Bible. And this was an opportunity then for other people who have a problem, or not a problem, other people who have a struggle to communicate with their non-affirming loved ones. The way to do it, really, if they're Bible-believing persons, is through the Bible. And so that's what I did. I went back to the Bible and went back with my dad to the Bible to have these conversations. And when we were sitting in that conference, that's when I found out about the 1946 mistranslation. Kathy and Ed had just discovered David. And so with the letters pulled from Yale University, now showing that this was a mistranslation, this is not my feelings, this is not my interpretation, this is not my opinion, this is a tangible mistake that we can draw from. So then for me as a filmmaker, I was like, this is amazing, like this is movie, like perfect storytelling here, because we can now have the opportunity to lead with this piece of evidence, which was our core thesis, and then make a journalistic, academic, relational approach to a real mistranslation that impacts our real lives. And so that was my goal as the director of the movie, with the responsibility of this important information that Kathy and Ed discovered. I just had the great privilege of being able to show it through a documentary. So that was it, out of a necessity. And then it all just kind of happened. Sometimes you can't, these things kind of just come to you. You don't choose them.
Sure. I think this is so powerful, because in watching the movie, it is just, and that's why we say you've got to go and watch the movie. You can see there is so the kind of tension that families deal with this very, very real issue, because of the stereotypes, the stigmas that so many of us have been born into, birthed into, and whether we're straight or gay, we're all born into this type of homophobic understanding of these stigmas that have been put in our ears since childhood, either from the pulpit or our social environments, or whatever it may be. So these negative connotations have sat with us, whether we are, gay or straight. And so already before you even come to the Bible, there is these tainted lenses, that we come with, no matter who you are. I mean, I hearing you a little bit, and we're going to hear more of your story. It's just incredible, because the reality is that it takes time, as I always say, before that penny drops, before you really know that God actually loves you, that you were created in the image of God. I mean, it took me 10 years of leaving God out of my life with a dad, also PK, like we were chatting about earlier, PK kid. And, you know, we're always usually the most rebellious out of the bunch, you know, we end up, and I speak for myself. So we'd love to hear more. I think, Em, you also had wanted to just throw something in there.
Yeah, thank you. Rocky, Sharon, I don't know if this either or. Okay, cool. In my head, it's like Rocky. I don't know if this is going to be spoiler alert, and if you don't want to answer the question, just say, oh no, I can't spoiler alert. But
my wife always spoiler alerts. I just want to tell you, she watches the end of things, then she tells me before I've watched. So just everybody get ready, close
your ears. Okay, close your ears. Everybody close your ears. What was the hardest part for you to film? If there was a scene or a part or just, yeah.
Yeah, there were a couple hard parts. The first scene, the first moment with my dad, with Kathy and at that conference, as you can imagine, was uncomfortable. It wasn't necessarily hard to film. The hardest thing is my mom didn't want to be a part of it. And so we made sure to respect her privacy and keep her face out. And then, you know, my dad is furiously taking notes and, you know, ready to ask a question. And Kathy's on the stage talking about penetration, patriarchy, and procreation for 6 hours, you know, so it gets a little awkward.
And I'm just picturing, you know, that's just Kathy. And she does it so well. She pulls it off, you know.
Oh, once she knew who was in the audience, you know, there were a couple looks that came Sal's way. No, there wasn't, but it's just really, it's just, as you can imagine, just really
awkward.
I think it's interesting, but yeah, it was quite awkward to be in between my mom and dad.
Yeah.
And then, you know, so once we decided that my dad showed up in the film, I wasn't supposed to be in the film. We had interviewed other storylines that were examples of how this mistranslation plays out in our real reality. And as you know, but once my dad showed up, it's like, oh, okay, well, I have to tell my story in this. And it really ended up being a powerful story, but then also it afforded us as the filmmakers to be able to kind of bridge some of the scenes together. I can help bring the audience with us and then like be almost a narrator, but really just kind of experiencing it with the audience. So that ended up being a creative choice that worked really well for us.
It did.
Yeah.
It did. It blended. Okay.
Yeah. And so, you know, once he said yes, we knew we would have to go back to those moments and talk about all of the talks that we've had over the years, which, as you can imagine, are always uncomfortable. But now for me and Jenna, who was our producer on the film, we knew we know my dad. We know what he's going to say. And she's been in the room, you know what I mean, with all of these things. So it was like almost perfect. The movie could write itself at this point. But there were, of course, some moments that were, none of it was scripted, but some moments that were not predictable. But, you know, we knew he was going to be firm in his position and he was going to, and that's actually how we got him to sign the release form, because when he asked the question at the first conference, we took him to the Reformation Project to then continue the journey, to start filming him and really see if he'll get involved. And he said he didn't want to be filmed. And we told him he wasn't able to ask a question because he has access to everyone in this room. We can have private conversations, and there are people who've spent a lot of money to travel to Seattle, and we want to make sure that they have the opportunity to ask the questions. Plus, we don't want to be triggering, you know, to people in the room.
Yeah.
And so he agreed he wasn't going to ask a question, and then he's raising his hand, and sure enough, Kathy's like, "Oh my gosh, your dad's asking a question." And I'm like, "He knows the rules, you know. It's okay."
He signed the waiver.
Well, no, yeah, he had that verbal.
I'm joking.
I know that verbal agreement, and then after that, he was like, he was ready to talk. So he signed the release form, and then he started to participate in the documentary. So we knew that we would have to go. I know it's just the way, you know, the way things happen. Don't give a preacher a mic, and they want to tell you everything.
Oh, yeah.
So.
True story. True story.
But he did know, and I told him, you know, I would honor his voice. We would give him equal play as all the other experts, and he's an expert in his line of work. And we wanted to give him that respect. And, you know, and actually one of the critiques that I get is I've actually was too kind to the evangelicals and too nice to my father. But, you know, I really wanted to showcase that, you know, we're not trying to attack anybody's beliefs. We're really just trying to get to the real situation. So, that scene at the end where my dad basically says that I'm living contrary to the word of God. It's in the trailer, and you can see physically on my face how painful that was. And during that filming, actually, we had to stop because the cinematographer for a moment was like, "Okay, this is enough." And for him to put the camera down, it was tense in the room, and everybody needed to take a break. And then the other moment when we're at the end of the conference scenes in Seattle with Dad and Ed Oxford. And they're like, "What if you're wrong? What if you're wrong? What if you're wrong? What if you're wrong?"
That was so good.
And I'm like, here we go, and it's just like breaks the ice. But then my dad says, if I had any reason in the world to see it, it would be right here. And he turns and he looks at me. And then if you rewatch the movie, you'll notice I'm just like, that's enough. I couldn't take it anymore. Like, that was too much for me. And so I kind of like, well, the bottom line is you're here. And I really appreciate that. It's just like, what do you say? And that's why then we ended the film with Dr. Parker just saying at the end of the day, like, just stay in relationship. As long as I always tell the audience, if it's healthy, if your loved one is physically, emotionally, spiritually beating you up, it is okay to walk away.
Yeah.
But if they are genuinely trying and they can respect your boundaries, stay in relationship. And that's one of the takeaways of the film. And so we just kind of, it's at the end of the movie, we're just like, well, let's go to dinner. And then that night, true story, we all went out for a feast in Seattle. We had crabs and like shrimp. I treated the entire crew, and my dad was there. It was like a table of 12, and we just had dinner together, and it was quite amazing, as you can imagine. And so we've had many moments like that as a crew, and different crews throughout, as we've had to hire locally or have different people do different parts of the 4 years it took to make the movie. But yeah, that was one of those amazing moments. We had 12 people at Seattle with us for that leg of the road. Which was great.
I love that. Love that. Thank you so much. And it's so wonderful for me, because we've seen the movie, is the behind the scenes, those awkward moments, those challenging moments, those, hey, enough moments, and then going for a cup of coffee and, talking it out and making sure the relationship is still sound. And that was amazing for me. You showed such grace. We were talking about that before we came on air. So thank you for being a true example, of what what good engagement looks like.
Because did you have a question?
No.
Okay, because what I'm curious about as well is, growing up in a household, in a space with your dad being a pastor, a non-affirming space, and it might seem obvious, but not for everybody. Just for our listeners, for those watching, how did that shape both the questions you asked and the why in the way that you wanted to tell the story? If that makes any sense.
Yeah, say it one more time. I'm sorry, I went off for a second.
How did that? Yeah. No, it's all good. So just, growing up in an evangelical household, how did that actually shape both the sort of questions that you asked in this movie and, the way that you wanted to tell the story? What do you think? Did it just kind of, obviously you as a director, you had, your picture boards and you had your ideas of what you were going to do. But how did this, growing up in this non-affirming space, actually shape what you wanted, how you wanted to tell the story?
Yeah, no, thank you for reframing that. So basically, my experience growing up in the church played out in every second of this entire frame. And I would say, as the director of the movie, I thought of the evangelical eye not more like it was more important than obviously the LGBTQ person who's been hurt by the church, but more where it's like, we know we can get people. We don't want to preach to the audience. Our audience, our echo chamber, we need evangelicals to watch.
Yeah.
So when are they going to turn it off? And so if we felt it was too much or too woke, we took it out. And to that example, there's one part in the movie where Dr. Cheryl Anderson, our Hebrew scholar, mentions how these verses, these clobber passages, like the Sodom and Gomorrah story and other things, are being used against the gay community as a scapegoat. And she
Yeah.
mentions the Jeffrey Epstein and the Harvey Weinsteins and things like that. And she says, and it just seems like it's just an excuse for cis heterosexual men to be able to, and we're like, take the word cis out because they're going to turn it off, you know?
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
I was really very intentional in every second of the film. And that's why the film doesn't attack anybody's beliefs. It doesn't attack the Bible. This is not an attack on God. And that's why we took that pure academic, even ground as much as we can, because obviously we have our biases, we are built in with them, but how can we check them at the door and really work with that integrity to the best of our ability? And that's why when Kathy says, when we're going over through the clobber, through the arsenicoitai and malakoi section, she says, if anybody tells you they know exactly what arsenicoitai means, they don't, because it's never defined. And that's an honest, but intellectually, integrity point of view that we could put together. It's like, we're not trying to tell you it means this and think this way. We're providing what scholars have said it could mean in the past. Scholars have said these are very difficult to translate. And so if you think that you know all, all more than all the scholars, well, good luck on that. So we just really wanted to work in those regards. So yeah, it informed every decision in the movie. Yeah.
Sure, I can imagine, because you can see that, like we mentioned a bit earlier, that raw emotion, was there. And us behind the scenes before we started, I said to you, just how brave you were to show that side, because that is something that you've literally been vulnerable for the whole world to see. And it was real. It wasn't acting. It was a real interaction, or a series of real interactions between you and your dad. And really, obviously your dad representing the conservative view of Christianity, where it's so difficult to break through in any shape or form, because as much as we love our loved ones, there is this deep-rooted, not always recognized fear of even going to a place that seems abnormal and unnatural because of what we've been taught. Even though it's not abnormal and unnatural, those are the words that have been used against us for so long that they literally have tainted people's minds, and the fear of Christians that they're somehow going to turn gay, or, if they just look at us or talk to us. I mean, in churches, I've had this scenario where there are Christians that they won't even have any kind of interaction with gay people in their church, because, what if there's an influence? What if there's a little demon spirit that's going to, this kind of nonsense, this folklore that we've been subject to. That's why your film is so relatable, because it speaks to every side of the family. And I think that was so important. And while, you're always going to have people that would want it, because there's been so much bias against us, that would want it to be just totally one way. But then, as you say, you're not going to reach the audience, the whole audience that we want to. We want it to be a safe film for everyone. Just like when For the Bible Tells Me So came out, I mean, I gave it to people who were struggling with their families, because there was relatability for the whole family. And I think that's what your movie does.
Thank you. And Dan Karslake was our executive producer on 1946. He is the director producer of For the Bible Tells Me So.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah. And that movie was very influential to me as well. It was one of the first of its kind to start really tackling the homophobia in the church and the oppression to the LGBTQ community. So, and one quick thing to our film, I know that the LGBTQ plus community has always been outside and othered. This isn't those things aren't new. But what's new with the mistranslation is the way that the church responds to LGBTQ people. Prior to,
Yeah.
so when the spread of homosexual was put into all those other verses, as you see in the film, the AIDS epidemic then happened. Then we see the merger of the moral majority in America specifically. And it was very easy for people to say, see, here it is in black and white, those dirty, filthy homosexuals. And by then it had just spread. And another thing that we noticed through the research is prior to 1973, when the American Psychiatric Association declassified homosexuals from being mentally ill, that's when we see the church doubling down and making homosexuality a moral issue. And that's when they start using the clobber passages. That's when it starts getting more aggressive. And then that's why now we see more self-harm to LGBTQ people, or people leaving homes and things like that, which happened to me, that we weren't seeing prior to the 70s. And this is all data-based information. And so that's basically what the takeaway is from the mistranslation and the harm then. And that's why Kathy's book talks about the creation of anti-gay theology, because that's what we see in the data that happened because of this mistranslation through the way the church deals with it. And before then, a homosexual would be sent to a medical psychiatrist in the 50s. And that was something we would see as well in the data. So
yeah, because it was only the 70s, right, that it was really dispelled, the whole myth about it being a psychological issue. And, you know, where the American Psychiatric Association and Psychological Association in the 70s actually brought that into a paper to say, no, this is not a psychological issue. This is not a mental issue.
Correct.
So, you know.
And then the church had to deal with it, you know, so.
Yeah. And they haven't, except being dismissive. And, well, yeah, you know, it's such a paradox because, I mean, many won't even open the door on that, apart from, you know, in terms of having dialogue, in terms of sitting in a safe space where we can actually listen to each other, hear each other's stories. It's like they won't even open that door. And I always, you know, because we're in that sort of spirit-filled church environment, we always quote like 1 John 4:4, which says, you know, greater is God in you than the one that is in the world, meaning, you know, the devil that's in the world. And I always quote that to them to say, if you are a spirit-filled believer and you are such a Christian, I'm not condescending, I'm just doing it now because it's quite frustrating. If you really are, then why are you so fearful to even have a conversation with me? You know, you're not going to turn gay. You're not going to be influenced, you know. And I quote 1 John 4:4 because of that. And I'm like, it's ridiculous. But there is this inherent unknown almost fear, which of course is homophobia. We all know it is that. And even our own people, we struggle to still get back into the church because they've got such PTSD, you know, from the hurt and the struggles that they've had. And like you said, you know, you coming out of that environment and just before we, you know, I'm not trying to ask the hard questions at all because these are, you know, you're answering them so beautifully and, you know, you're so honest and transparent. So we so appreciate that. Thank you. But at the time of the making of this movie, from what I understand, your father was actually writing his own book at the time. From what I remember in the movie, he was defending, you know, the traditional translation while you were actually making the film. Is that right? I mean, what was it like to keep the relationship open, you know, through such a personal disagreement?
You know, my dad and I are a lot alike, and he, you know, he feels this desperate need to just get his point across, and I respect that, you know, as much as it's painful. He never finished that book. He wrote a memoir, and then he's actually not been well over the last couple years, so he had to put the other book on hold. But you know, he would do similar things to other family members, and that's why we have that beautiful footage in the middle of the movie, which if you haven't seen the movie, I won't spoil it. There's some archival news footage in there, you know. And so what he really does is he works from a place of deep compassion and love for really me, because when he wrote me that letter, he really believed that homosexuals would not inherit the kingdom of God. And so it's almost like he's desperate to reach me. And so that's why I can have forgiveness and just love him through it. As frustrating as it is and as hard as it is to see someone spin their wheels, and I think it just feels like a hamster wheel to me. But you just kind of let it play out, you know. It would have been interesting to see the book being published, but it's probably best that it wasn't finished, to be fair, for everyone. But there are plenty of other books out there that say homosexuality is a sin. We don't need to promote any of those too, right?
Isn't that the truth? You don't need one more.
Sure, yeah, exactly. I'm sure Kathy has read them all, which she has. She actually does book reviews. So really quickly on the note of forgiveness, and speaking of evangelicals, that was another thing that we really debated whether or not we were going to put in the film. Because how do we end this, you know? And as I mentioned earlier, when I'm just like, okay, well, where do we go from here? Let's just stop this conversation. It was really hard. And then it's like, well, how are we going to end this movie? And so we decided to just kind of do what my dad and I do, is agree to disagree, which is the truth. And I do learn a lot from my dad as far as like the way you treat people and the way you respond and different things. And so just like I mentioned, I have to look at my dad with love and know that he's coming from a place of good intentions, and he really means well, and he believes what he's doing. And so he's not purposely trying to hurt me. So I am able to forgive him. But the church has also misused forgiveness. And we all know we've been in front of an abuser, and the church makes you forgive your abuser. And they've definitely mismanaged the meaning of forgiveness. And so we really wanted to make sure that it wasn't put in a triggering way. And if anybody does watch it and you feel triggered and you're watching this now, please know that's not what our intention was. It is really just our honest walk with me and my dad. And so we felt that it was okay to put that in there, but it was on the chopping block for a long time. Like, how are we going to end this movie? What are we going to do? And I'm like, I'm not doing that, you know, like, but it worked. And with Parker, Reverend, you know, Dr. Parker in there, and she wrapped it up so well too. It really just kind of, again, the film just takes on its own language once it starts getting edited and put together. And our editor, Jill Woodward, I have to give a shout out to. She's incredible. If anybody ever is looking for an editor, she's in New York City. So
Wow, that's amazing, and just what a team. And Ashlyn says, Ashlyn, one of our openly trans men, he says, I found out and watched 1946 at one of the lowest points of my life, and it is such an empowering movie. It is a must watch. So, and let's just go through one or two other comments as well, if we can. Did you want to just hold them up here? I did. There were the two.
Oh, great.
I did, yeah. And then Flo says, the movie is so good, it unroots any form of internalized homophobia that one may have. Really good. And please, Saints, if you've got any comments, any questions that you would like to ask while we're on live, I see all of you are on, just please put a Q and a colon, and we will put those aside, and we will definitely ask them. If you have any questions at all, please do. And let us know if this is being helpful for you, because, you know, coming on, and I mean, just, you know, giving us your time, we really do appreciate it. Just to be able, we said, you know, it's like a bit of a not a collab, but it's really us just cross-pollinating so that we can reach as many of our people as possible. I just want to see if there's any other. Yeah, David just says conversation is key, dialogue, not debate. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, we never really win in a debate, right? I mean, it's that whole old saying, you know, that we're just shouting over one another, trying to, you know, like you mentioned in the movie, it's, you know, what if you're wrong? What if you know? And if we would just stop and listen to each other's story and just, you know, give each other that space and really sincerely listen, want to hear, want to understand, I think it would make all the difference. It really would.
Rocky, if I can maybe ask you, once again, I'm sure it's not a spoiler alert, but what was the most, I'm going to say, surprising reaction to the movie? That you've been to obviously many countries and you've had dialogue with many people in different forums. What was the most surprising response to the movie?
Yeah. So during our festival year, what was surprising to me is some queer film festivals wouldn't even screen the film. The programmers wouldn't even watch it. And there was one that's quite prestigious and quite large and internationally known that's on that list. And it was really heartbreaking for me because I wanted to play that stage. But it just goes to show, and as you mentioned about listening, like anytime anything like that happens, I just try to like, what's the lesson behind it? And much as when we would get hate from LGBTQ people online, there's a lot of hurt for LGBTQ people around the church. And so I wish that programmer would have just given it a chance, because there were other film festivals. We had programmers fighting for us because our film did very well. We were winning audience awards and people were talking about it again because we kept that middle ground. We weren't, like, oh my God, we're burn the church down. We're not going to be erased. F you, everyone. Like it was really well thought out. Again, every second of the film is intentional. And so 2 of the film festivals that we had to fight to get in and get people to vouch for us, basically. One of them was Outfest in Los Angeles. And we ended up playing, and they give us like the not so good slot. And we ended up, and they might not have, but they did put us on the Directors Guild of America stage, which is a very awesome stage to play on, as you can imagine, as a director. And then we won the audience award, and so it's just like, just give it a chance. So whether you're gay or not, or Christian or not, people are really responding to the film. The other film festival was in Arkansas, and it was a documentary film festival. It is a very prestigious documentary film festival. And the programmer was like, there's no way we're playing this movie in Arkansas to our Christian conservative audience. Absolutely not, full stop. And the programmer's like, no, you have to see this movie, And we had just done Real Queer, REEL, in another city in Arkansas. I'm not sure the cities. There's so many cities. I can't even keep them all together. And we won that film festival. And so he was the programmer there. So anyway, long story short, we ended up getting the lead programmer to say yes. We played this conservative, straight, or I guess, wouldn't be straight, but it's not a queer film festival, like a, secular film festival, 10 a.m. on a Sunday morning. We ended up selling out, packed the audience, and won the audience award.
Wow.
So whether, again, it's a conservative area or LA, we're winning audience awards and people are responding to the film. There are other stories. We were in the Bahamas, and we were in a country now where women's rights are still restrictive, and not let alone LGBTQ rights. And there was a woman who stood up in the audience and admitted she has a gay brother, and as a Christian, she needs to do better. She thinks she's doing it wrong, and you could feel the trembling in her voice, and that was really powerful. And for her to be brave to stand up in her community in front of people that I'm sure she knew, or to be even seen and admit that, was really powerful. And then another story that always sticks with me, we were on our road trip around America, and we purposely picked cities that were not welcoming to LGBTQ people, that had big issues around Christian nationalism, using the Bible, and laws and things like that, right? Like against our community. And we picked cities like Frisco, Texas. They banned the most books in the United States in 2023. So we're like, we're going to Frisco.
More than
we're not
Florida.
doing Dallas,
More than
exactly,
Florida.
exactly. Right.
Sorry.
And yeah. And so, we picked the hard cities, and we had some wonderful experiences along the way. We had a wonderful queer crew with a mixed crew, and we broke down twice in our RV. And both times we came across the stereotypical cowboy looking or Southern looking man, big white man, and our little queer crew. And some of them weren't little, we had a very female presenting, tall and male presenting person, you know, in the RV. So it's they, them, what's going on here? And every person we met along the way, or we break down and it's closing time, and they would be like, my mama always told me to take care of people in need.
Wow.
And they never judged us. They took care of us. They helped us.
Come
and we had
on.
wonderful, I know, right? Exactly.
Sure.
And then when we were halfway through the tour, we were in Memphis, Tennessee. And now meanwhile, we're like, hey guys, we have an Airbnb we need to pay for. Here's a collection. Like, we were shameless. Like, we need help doing this. It's not cheap, you know, to put 6 people in an RV in the summer in August and drive around the United States. I mean, we were having lunches in churches and stuff. They're like, can we show your movie here? No, but we need a crew of 6 to be fed at 3 p.m. at this time, you know,
Potluck.
at this time. Exactly.
Sure, yeah.
So anyway, so we never know who was coming into these churches or community centers. And at the end of our Memphis stop, which is one of the most dangerous cities in America, there was a husband and wife that came up. It is, which is really interesting. You don't, you know, like, so, but, you know, whatever, we were in a church, it doesn't matter. Like, it just is an interesting statistic that we learned along the way, you know, like, why Memphis, what's going on there? But this couple wasn't dangerous. They were lovely. But there was a man and a woman that came up, and the man seemed very distant. You could tell he really wasn't very comfortable. He asked me a question. I don't really remember the question. But, you know, I engaged, and it was a good exchange, and they left. Then the next morning we woke up. Meanwhile, we're on our way to Colorado. We have a house picked up. It's $1,000. Does anybody want to pay for this? You know, please help us out. Meanwhile, the next morning we wake up and we have a DM, an inbox of an email, and another format. They DM'd us in 3 different areas. And it was the wife telling us the story of the husband, and basically said that he woke up at breakfast and the movie is marinating and resonating with him so well, he can't stop talking about it. And then she shares, he believes homosexuality is a sin. He's definitely non-affirming. He did not want to go to the screening, but he woke up this morning and he wanted to send us $1,000 to pay for the next leg of the movie. Can you imagine?
Sure.
So there are things like that happened all along the way. And even in like the pre-production stage, there were times through our social media campaign, and you can find on our linked tree, Evoke Media did a case study on how I was able to build an audience and actually get the movie fundraised. And there's some short little videos on there that are super cute. Well, I don't know if they're cute. I mean, I can't watch myself sometimes on the TV, but the messages are cute. As on how we were able to do this, and some of the stories on how we were able to get funding along the way. And so I invite the audience to take a look at some of the case studies that we have for the film, which is also part of the story.
It sounds to me like the Lord, the providence of God is with you and was with you, because those things, you know, I don't believe they're coincidences. And I mean, there are coincidences, of course, but when those kind of things happen that are like totally, they don't even make sense, you know, the homophobic big butch man, you know, and suddenly $1,000. And I mean, people, you know, in our community, I think often don't realize just how in need we are of resources, that even if, you know, how people always say the gospel is free, but it takes finances, it takes resources to build a community, to put out a film, to take an inclusive gospel. Not everything, we might expect it to be free, but not everything is free, because it costs people's time, it costs people's money, it costs, the resources of time are enough just to say, you know, we need to support our community, we need to support this film. We need to spread the word about this film. And excuse me, and David also has a question here. Let me not forget, my producer on the side here is giving me the hand. So, sorry, I'm just putting it on. Let me, I put it on. And
y'all are such a cute team.
Darling, just
my
let me put it on.
You guys are so cute.
My producer's giving me all these hand signals that she didn't even teach me. She hasn't even taught me what they are. I've got to just like learn this new sign language. But anyway, you keep moving it. Wait, darling, wait. Okay, there we go. Okay, this is for you. Can you see it, Rocky?
Yeah.
Have you had much feedback from Christians who have changed their minds or approach after watching the movie?
Yeah, we've had some via DMs. Some have DM'd some friends, and then friends will send us the message. We've had some emails come in. We've had some people like the woman mentioned in the Bahamas that are like, they have that aha moment. And so you know that they're doing more work. We hope that there are more. And our goal has always been, we know we're not going to change everybody's mind. At the very least, we hope that the takeaway of the film, my hope is that people can understand that the Bible wasn't written in English, specifically American English, like for our American friends, you know what I mean? Like, so let's just start with that. And then even if you don't agree with us, how are we using the Bible? How are we, and are we, as Dr. Parker says, having a little bit more empathy before we use it as a weapon? And so we would ask people to just kind of take that step back. And then for the people who we know are not going to change their mind, and that seems like it's not very hopeful, we know there's enough people in the world that just need their head and their heart to align. And they've been waiting for this information. And just like you said, Deborah, resources, right? People need resources.
Yeah.
So we've created a resource so the people who are ready, we call them the movable middle, to be able to move with us into relationship, and into a change of policy. So it's safe for our community, so we can all feel safe, and that hopefully more Christians can see the movie and have their minds changed.
That is such a good, I haven't heard that concept. It makes so much sense. Say that again about the middle.
Yeah.
Just help me understand.
Sure, the movable middle. There's enough people that are seeing what's going on in our church buildings, just like I did as a gay person, and being in that bait and switch experience. I just needed to ask the right questions and then get the right information. And then it led me to being able to make this movie. And so through this movie, I hope that people who are waiting and needing that head and that heart to align, this will be that missing piece. And then Kathy's book will also then fill in all of the rest of the voids that will be able to answer all of the questions that we couldn't put in a 90-minute presentation. Obviously, there's only so much we could put in the movie, which is why, again, it was very intentional. There were some things that we really wanted to put in and we couldn't. And we wanted to only make an 1.5-hour movie because we don't want to lose the audience. Our attention spans are only so long. We wanted to make a compelling film that you don't get bored, that you can watch every second and you're like, you know. And I really feel strongly, again, we had a great team and we hit that note. Now, since we finished it 1 hour and 26 minutes, another spoiler alert, since this is my directorial debut, I'm like, we're making a credit sequence. So I had 6.5 minutes to like.
I stayed till the end. I watched the whole thing.
And go all the way to the end, go to the end of the credits. It gives us a wonderful opportunity to thank all of the amazing volunteers, the paid technicians, the donors on the movie. So that 6.5 minutes of the credit scroll, you see all of that. But then there's some fun sequences that we couldn't put in the movie that weren't like the Sodom and like we wanted to talk about the definition of the word sodomite, and we wanted to talk about, marriage, and different things that we couldn't put in, but we're like, we won't put that in the credit sequence. We're going to put the fun stuff in that then adds that levity that reminds us, again, we're all humans going through this together. The movie has some heavy themes, but it's not a heavy film. And at the end, we definitely end with that levity. So people can, again, walk away feeling energized. They can walk away feeling inspired and wanting to do better and learn more. So definitely watch all the way to the end, because there's a little bonus right after the credits.
I'm so glad we didn't switch off at the credits, because afterwards,
it was cool. It was
no
really
spoiler alert, darling.
No, I was just going to say there are hearts flying everywhere. Just to thank you and to send out hearts to you. Yeah, absolutely. People are really being blessed.
Your mic was off earlier, just so that you know, and it was okay. I switched it off, but it's on again.
No, mine. No, mine.
Oh, my darling.
No,
I think
you're good. You're good.
I switched it off deliberately, but I didn't.
I usually record on the side, but I'm not this time. So.
Okay. No, there was nothing meaningful said. So
well, we can, but we'll give, and we can definitely catch up in the weeks ahead and work out how we can also, if there's the broadcast and you want to dissect it and do whatever, you can feel free. We can send you the raw. But just to say also, there's a comment here. There are quite a few comments, but those, where is that? Let's have a look here. Jim from Australia, he's a regular on our show. He said he just wants to say thank you, Rocky, for your work. I'm very pleased that the movie can now be accessed by people who really need it. Such an important piece of work. Humbly to be one of the sponsors of the movie. So I really appreciate that. Thank you, Jim. We appreciate that. That is so wonderful. And also, just a last one, if I can. So thank you again. We're just so blessed. Thank you for being here with us. Our audience are here. They are glued. We see them all still on. And many will watch on replay, that I know. If a pastor or a parent is watching this podcast and maybe they're wrestling with, these questions in their own family right now, because what we noticed, and we touched on this earlier, is that the film is very relatable to many different personalities and characters in a family. There are those that will relate to your dad, those that will relate to you, and the interaction that you both had, and then with your friends. And then, of course, you've got Kathy, she's a straight ally, and she's bringing in all this other theology, and you've got another couple of theologians there. And so the dynamics are really, really powerful in this movie. But if a pastor or parent is watching this podcast and they're wrestling with these questions in their own family right now, what would you want them to do with this film and with this conversation, and in conversation after they've watched this film? What would you want them to do with this film?
Well, it would be wonderful if they could watch it with their loved one. If there's someone that is in their life that they feel are living in sin, maybe they could sit down and watch it together or watch it individually. I think for a pastor, it would be great to start bringing this into your leadership team and start talking about it. I definitely would recommend getting Kathy's book. She has a workbook as well. She also has an audio version. And even though it is well cited and documented, it's very accessible. And so it's an academic book at an accessible level. And then I would also recommend checking out our resources on our resource page, because there are other, like I mentioned, so many people that have been doing the work well before me, and then people who are continuing the work. And there are so many resources now. And for the 1946 team, I know that we are working to make sure that those resources are not just available in English. We will be coming to Africa with 4 African languages, and we're working on getting more.
Wow, that's unbelievable.
Yeah, and so we're making sure that the languages are accessible for the audiences, and obviously there's so many languages in Africa, and so we're working with the communities and which ones are going to be most useful for now, and then with our donors as money comes in as much as we can, and so yeah, just be open and hear our stories. I think you keep saying it. It's about storytelling. It really is about relationship. And that's another key takeaway of the film. And if we're not in relationship and we're not open to another, we're never going to get anywhere. And to that end, I will say this. My dad has changed his mind a little bit. You ready for this? So he now believes that you can be born gay. And so you might be gay, but you can't act on it. So that would be something we call side B. I don't know if you know the side A, side B stuff. A is a fully affirming in the church and equal participant. Side B means you're born gay, but you have to pick up your cross and you either get in a mixed orientation marriage or you remain celibate.
Wow.
So thanks, Dad. Those are now my choices. Too late. I'm already married.
Yeah. Okay, good for you.
Well, but that's a shift. He's thinking that if we weren't in relationship, he would still hold on to that. 1 Corinthians means this, and it's a fact.
Yeah.
So not as linear in his thinking as he used to be, right?
As you say, the way you're seeing it is progress. And the thing is, absolutely. The thing is, keep yourself on there. The thing is, I think what's so sad about that is we still see that stance with so many believers, so many pastors, so many churches, that whole thing about hate Love the sinner, hate
Love
the
the
sin.
sinner, yeah.
And then not understanding really the eunuchs, in Matthew 19, and not understanding, that celibacy is a really special calling. Not every, it's a calling. It's not. It's
correct.
It's a calling.
It's not a mandate.
Absolutely. Correct. And I mean,
correct.
If you to say to a straight person, don't you ever get involved with anyone, you need to be celibate because you're straight, they would look at you as though you're crazy. And so, yeah, it's very sad because that is still the belief in behavior as opposed to my sexual orientation, who I am intrinsically created to be, because that's the word used in the Greek in Romans 1. It's actually the word intrinsic. So, I could never be with a man. That's not who I was intrinsically created to be. So it is just a little bit of, like you say, stumbling through all of the, your dad busy wafting through all of the theology, and slowly but surely, and we pray with you and for you that, and for your dad, that in time he will be able to come to terms with that. And most importantly, at least you both still have a relationship. It may not be one that is ideal, certainly not for you, and I'm sure not even for him. But we certainly pray, and thank you also for being so honest and just so transparent about this, not just in our interview and our chat here on the podcast, but also in the film. And I think, Saints, just to encourage you again to go and see it, I think we put the link on, it's also attached right to the top of our YouTube channel, and it'll also be in the description of this podcast. Don't forget to go and buy the movie, and make sure you tell as many people in our community and watch it with your families. We're going to put it up again for you. And then also the link, is this
program?
Yes, let's not forget as well that one of the things that also preempted our timing on this is, of course, that you have a surprise for us here in South Africa, Rocky. If you're able, I'd love you to take us through that.
Yeah.
Because you're going to be with us here in
things.
South Africa.
I am, yeah. And I'm going to actually be hanging out with our new friends, Dr. Amy from University of Johannesburg, who has invited us to work with the media department. And I'll be giving a lecture to the students on filmmaking and audience building and working with the students,
wonderful.
which will be great. And then on September 23rd, we will be showing the movie at the university. And we've already have filled half of the room, I've heard. There are 200 tickets already sold, so there's only 200 left. So, and it's free. They're not sold. Thank you. It's free show. So please go to our website on the linked tree or on our socials at 1946 the movie. You'll find the linked tree and all of the information for the University of Johannesburg screening.
There it is now on your screen.
Great. And then we will first actually be in Cape Town, where we're going to be at the SASHA conference, which is the South African Sexual Health Association, which is amazing for us. It'll be our first sex health conference. We do a lot of queer and Christian, or LGBTQ and Christian conferences all over the world. We've now done World Pride. We just got back from Amsterdam. Which is amazing.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Wow.
But this will be our first sex conference, so it'll be really cool. We've done a lot of universities, but this will be really exciting to meet some new people and some new experiences. And I want to give a shout out to our friend Allie. Alicia is on the call right now, and she is a filmmaker from South Africa, and we've connected because of her movie called For the Bible Tells Her So, which is in production right now. If you don't know about it, go follow For the Bible Tells Her So. You can learn all about it. You can donate to her film because she needs some help finishing this movie. But it's about gender-based violence being pretty much justified through the Bible. And specifically within South Africa, the problems within gender-based violence and the mental health issues that go along with that, and things like corrective rape, which are excused in these areas, which we don't see excuse in America, thank God, but these are horrific things that she's really addressing. And so I invite everyone to take a look and support that filmmaker. And thanks, Alicia. We're going to have so much fun in Cape Town.
And you say she's
yeah.
on? She's on online?
She was on. I think she's on. I'm trying to find out now, but there's a delay on the YouTube, so I can't watch that one. Otherwise, I get really confused.
You know, I think I connected with her on one of our WhatsApp groups, one of our lesbian Christian WhatsApp groups here. I'm sure we did. I think it is her, and if it isn't, I'll chat to you also about connecting at a later stage. We would love to do that. We believe in absolutely coming together, and as I said, cross-pollinating. We must encourage our community. We must get the word out there. We must counter all of these nonsensical things that have been put into folklore for so many years that are so far from the truth, but are so deeply embedded and rooted in people's minds that even people in our own community really still struggle with reconciling their sexual orientation and their faith. And what we don't want to do, and especially as pastors, especially as churches, affirming churches, is we don't want to see our people lost in a world because they believe they can be gay but they can't love God, or God does not love them. And that is furthest from the truth. And if you're on this broadcast tonight, we want to encourage you to go and see 1946, the movie, where you can buy it. All the links are there. We have been through them, but they certainly are all in the comments and in the description. You won't be sorry. It will help you a lot. And then if you need any additional support, please know that we are here. You can talk to us, and we can refer you if we need to. But we want to encourage you. Please know that you are loved by God. You are created in the image of God. And don't let anybody else tell you that that is not so. Too many people have left and lost so much of their lives because they believed that lie. And we don't want anybody to be taken in by that lie. And the sad thing is that so many people believe that this is the lie. And because they've been teetering on this is what we are left with. And so it's people like you, Rocky, that have made movies like this, that have made films like this, that bring us into a different thought process than just somebody speaking to us from a pulpit or speaking to us from a church.
Yes.
You've put together something that really evokes emotions from every side regarding this issue. And so I think it's vitally important that people see the movie, and we want to thank you again for the work you do. We want to thank you for your passion. We want to thank you for your heart, and we want to thank you for your vision to bring this to our community and the families and allies of those that are struggling with this issue. So we thank you. We bless you.
Yep.
And while we'll just miss each other in Cape Town and just miss each other in South Africa, we pray that you have a blessed time, and we'll give everybody the link so they can go and book and reserve a seat, whether you be in Cape Town or Johannesburg. We want to encourage you, don't miss Rocky when she brings this to South Africa. And we wish you all the best in our country. We pray that you are blessed beyond measure. And if you go to Cape Town, you may just not want to leave. But you can let us know, and we'll come and meet you there. But
I love it.
But we bless you, and safe travels. And we want to thank you again. And quite a few people are thanking you. Somebody said here, thank you for your bravery, for telling you. Oh, is that Ellie?
Yeah.
Oh, is that Ellie?
Yes.
Yep,
okay. Telling your story. Oh, Ellie. Okay, Ellie. Cool. Good to see you on. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting this. And we bless you. And to all those watching, gosh, we've even got more on now. Let me just see, where are we? We want to say goodbye to Rocky. Everybody say goodbye.
Bye, Rocky. Yay. Thank you so, so much. It was wonderful to engage with you, to chat with you, to meet you, and all the best with your traveling, your trips, and your engagements. Bless you.
Thank you.
And
y'all are amazing.
Yeah, and we're going to chat to you on WhatsApp anyway through the course of as it goes. Anyhow, at least we hooked up now in that way.
Send your spouse our love.
Yes, we haven't met yet, but we bless you. May the love of God go with you. May the peace of God go with you. And thank you, God, that your favor is upon this amazing
open doors.
Woman.
Thank you, Lord.
And so we bless you.
Bye.
Thank you.